war has broke out. A storm is coming.
Once again, things heating up already for this main event. The WWE ready for this main event. The WWE ready for this main event. The WWE.
The face of boxing, Gervonta "Tank" Davis, and fellow southpaw, fellow undefeated fighter Frank Martin. They have their first press conference, and let's just say things got a bit heated. I'm looking forward to the fight. I told you guys it's going to be a movie. I cannot wait for this fight. Both guys talked the talk. There were some good moments in this press conference. Both guys sound confident. Frank Martin, as you guys know, he's with Derek James, great coach who just had an upset win. The upset win over Devin Haney with his fighter Ryan Garcia, a bit in question, with Ryan later popping dirty. We'll see how that all plays out. Interesting enough, I gotta give credit to Gervonta Davis. He, over the last several years, has really come into his own as the face of boxing and a star player. Very good on the camera. He obviously looks the part. The culture with him, the hip hop world messes with him. And, you know, you see him with the jewelry, cool little drip, all that type of stuff. So that's going to help sell the fight. But then what he said on the mic, I think also is going to make people interested in this fight. You guys got to understand, boxing is boxing, especially in 2024 with TikTok and people's attention spans becoming shorter and shorter. Sometimes you have to put on a show, and that's what this press conference was. I definitely enjoyed it, and it only hyped me up for the fight. Tank, gotta admit, he won the press conference. I don't have a dog in the race, but in terms of the better jabs, the better stinging statements were landed by Gervonta Davis. Other thing that was impressive from Tank was Gervonta Davis seemed very cool, calm, and calculated, saying things like, "I'm gonna stop you," laughing at certain moments. He was just almost like having fun in there. There was also a moment where he showed Frank Martin their infamous sparring tape on stage. Like, remember what I did you in sparring. And I've always said this, boxing is not so much physical. There's a lot of mental warfare and mental preparation. And, you know, you just have to be a strong-minded individual to be in that line of work. So to be in this line of work, you got to be mentally strong. Gervonta Davis taunting him with the sparring that could create doubts. Like, I wasn't there for the sparring, so I don't know what happened. But obviously, Tank Davis, if he was getting clipped up, I doubt he would show the sparring. And then you see Frank Martin's face, he's looking at it, trying to, you know, probably trying to remember, because you have to understand, at the time they sparred, Tank probably would have been the bigger star, and he remembers the sparring and has the tape, while I don't know if Frank Martin has the tape, you know, because he probably didn't have any videographers. At the time, it was in the Mayweather gym, and Tank Davis was a star and a guy who was basically signing with Floyd. So I think this is great psychological warfare by Gervonta Davis, especially if Frank Martin doesn't have the tape, so he can only go off of memory, and Tank is confident enough to pull out the clip and show it on his iPhone, like, yeah, we studied you, you know, da-da-da-da. That could create some just doubts and, you know, make you question things like, oh, I forgot he landed that. You know, Tank also alluded to Frank Martin not liking body work in this press conference. And overall, I thought he won the press conference. Another thing I remember is you have Frank Martin, who was basically on Cigar Talk, and he said that he hurt Tank in the sparring, and Tank is obviously confident enough to bring up the sparring again and be showing him on stage where there's cameras rolling. So now some are questioning, did Tank really get hurt in that sparring? Because Tank said he hurt Frank Martin, but he's showing the tape. Again, I wasn't there for it, so I don't know how the sparring played out. I'm just giving you some perspective. Again, you guys do the math. Let me know in the comment section. If you got clipped up and badly hurt in sparring, I highly doubt you would be showing the sparring with cameras rolling, or at least you're not going to show the moments where you were badly hurt or rocked on camera, especially if you're trying to taunt your opponent. Nonetheless, it's great psychological warfare by Gervonta Davis. Another home run moment for Gervonta Davis, which is why I scored this press conference for him, was in this press conference, he says something like, this dude's from the suburbs. We have nothing in common. The only thing we got in common is, like, I'm from the trenches. He's from the burbs. Frank Martin, of course, denies it and said, I ain't from no suburbs. And he said the only thing we got in common is that little girl he got. So he's basically saying, like, you know, on some Tupac Biggie, that's why Joe Chick. That's basically what he's saying. Is like whatever girl he's messing around with or attached to, he's basically alluding to that girl was, you know, something that he already had or whatever. And he was like, I'll catch up with her later. So, you know, these are like rap battle type disses that we've seen Tupac. This strategy was employed by Tupac and Hit 'Em Up versus Biggie.
Immediate animosity come from? Have you had problems for a while with each other? Is it is this real? Is this just made up for the fight?
It's just it's real. This is two dogs.
He's from the suburbs.
It's two dogs.
From the suburbs. I
ain't from no motherfucking.
Me and him don't got nothing in common.
You don't know me. Fuck you talking about.
But the little female he got.
That's the problem.
But that little female he got, well, she probably around here somewhere. I'll catch up with her. Look. Hey, little female.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that, let's move on. Listen, this is a tremendous fight. June the 15th, Saturday, MGM Grand Garden Arena.
And at least to me, it seems and appears that Tank Davis may have gotten under Frank Martin's skin with that comment. And for the record, I didn't hear anything about Frank Martin denying it. So these are just good, very good power punches verbally to win the pre-fight before the fight. Because Frank Martin didn't deny it, like, my girl would never mess with you, or that's cap. You know, when Tank said he hurt Frank Martin in sparring, Frank Martin was like, cap, that's big cap. And then now he's saying he messed with your girl in the past or whatever situation there. And then Frank Martin seemed to get riled up from that comment. And Tank started laughing like, you know, like he's the Joker. We've seen these antics recently play out well for Ryan Garcia in terms of getting under the op's skin and potentially making him fight the wrong fight. Bill Haney was like, yeah, my son gonna do this, and KILL Ryan Garcia fight us in the center of the ring, which with Devin Haney's chin, his style, his punching power, and Ryan's assets and traits, and potentially him being on something, you know, that was totally the wrong game plan. So I could respect it. I respect Frank Martin. You know, this is just the pre-fight banter. I respect Tank Davis. Doesn't mean this is an indication of how the fight will play out. But from what I've seen, Tank had the better moments. And there were moments where, you know, we didn't really see Frank Martin pull up with some of the energy that I've seen from him in the past. And that's just being me being fair and assessing it. Like when he was on Cigar Talk and he was like, big cap, his energy seemed even more up. Right? Or when he pulled up on Keyshawn Davis and he like confronted him about talking on the internet, his energy seemed more. So he did seem a little bit more kind of like starstruck with Tank Davis. But that makes sense. Frank Martin is a great fighter, accomplished fighter, beat Michelle Rivera, tough fight with Olympian Artem Harutyunyan, but he's never been at this main stage in the same way. And I think a lot of people in boxing truly sleep on the experience factor, like how being a guy like Floyd Mayweather, being a guy like Canelo who fights today, I will be doing the watch party, being a guy like Gervonta Davis, when you've already had your big moments and you've been the man for quite some time, you made a lot of money, you've had sellout events, and Tank's last fight, he did over $1 million. So, you know, he's eating well. He had a big fight where he had to perform under 1 million plus people watching him, and he passed with flying colors. That is a big advantage. And Frank Martin, you know, this is his golden ticket to try to cash in, but he hasn't to this point had a moment where he had a fight on pay-per-view or even a fight that did like 1 million plus views or anything like that. So should still be a great fight. I will continue to cover it. Excellent press conference. Readied me for the fight. I can't wait for the fight. Stay tuned for more content on this fight and every other fight in my sport, the sport of boxing.